WhatsApp here at Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. Tonight, embattled Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta survives another action aimed at removing him from office as the minority's motion of censure falls flat on its face amidst a majority walkout. What next? We have the minority. Will join us. We'll talk some more. Trouble looms as a real estate company has sued the Lands Commission for $4.7 million for the demolition of a property, making way for the construction of the National Cathedral. We'll tell you how this complicates the already complex National Cathedral conversation. We'll get into that tonight. Also, on the show tonight, we bring you an exclusive interview with NPP stalwart Arthur Kennedy on the state of the economy and the debt exchange program and the fate of investors, as well as more groups reject the proposal. You are part of the conversation tonight. Connect with us. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and Twitter. Let's get talking. Well, let's settle for Ghana Briefs. The vote of censure against Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has fallen flat as the minority side of the House failed to garner enough support to remove the minister. All 136 minority MPs voted in favor of the motion after the majority staged a walkout, but that did not make any difference.
Those in favor after the secret vote is 136. Those against, 0. Abstentions, 0. Now, in accordance with Article 82(1), which reads, Parliament may, by a resolution supported by the votes of not less than 2/3 of all the members of Parliament.
The Lands Commission has been sued by a real estate company over the National Cathedral project. The company is demanding a total of $4.7 million from the Lands Commission for the demolition of the company's two-story building complex in Accra. The compulsory possession and demolition by the commission was to make way for the National Cathedral of Ghana, a project that has stirred controversy since its commencement. The Trade Union Congress has asked government to cut the number of ministers to save the revenue instead of touching pension funds of workers. Deputy Secretary General of the TUC, Joshua Ansa, was addressing the National Executive Council meeting of the Ghana Mine Workers Union.
Look at what is happening, 35% per year. Are we going to sit down for this to happen in this country? 35% per year. How much is the salary? And if you take the 35%, how much will remain for you to take care of your family? Are we going to sit down, my brothers and sisters? No. Are you going to sit down for your pensions to be haircut? No. It should never happen.
An economist and political risk analyst, Dr. Theo Echampong, has said there will be losses due the implementation of a government debt exchange program. At Media Journal's Thought Leadership Forum, Dr. Theo Echampong called for further engagement with the people who are going to be affected by the program.
Let no one lie to us that there would be no losses. There definitely would be losses. And even when you take into account what the government wants to offer the institutional investors through the Financial Stability Fund, the amount of losses is still going to be much more significant or bigger than what is being proposed.
After 3 weeks of pulsating action, just 8 teams are left standing as the 32-nation tournament heads into the final rounds of the knockout competition after a 2-day break. Argentina prepare to face Netherlands as anticipation is high.
And his NDC colleague Kaisa Latuforsen was adamant the majority needs to back them.
There is a responsibility on our shoulder to save our country. And I call on you, the majority, to join us, the minority, to do what is right.
That was not to be, and as Speaker ruled that the House should take a vote, the NPP MPs made their move.
You want us to follow you on this misadventure,
value of the shadow of death.
on this grotesque misadventure.
Value of the shadow.
Mr. Speaker, like Pontius Pilate,
We wash our hands.
we will wash our hands.
So they actually washed their hands with sanitizer and they walked out. That was the majority, and that was expected. In fact, the finance minister himself was there in Parliament earlier today. He says, and I quote, "If I say I am innocent, they, the minority, will not believe me. And if I ask for the truth and proof, they won't be able to provide it. I have committed no crime," unquote. Those were the words of the finance minister. In fact, there are many people who had said from day one that the motion of censure may not make any impact considering some of the reasons underlying the said motion. And that's what we saw play out in Parliament today. The majority walked out. Plus, what happened when Hon Ofori-Atta appeared before the 8-member committee? Many believe or hold the view that some of the members of the minority side of that 8-member committee made it look very easy for the finance minister when he appeared before them to just ride on, walk, and not be subjected to much scrutiny because of the kind of expectations that underline them. But was it a realistic expectation for the minority to have that the majority MPs were actually going to support them in all of this? Well, you heard them yesterday. The Honorable Muntaka Mubarak was on the show with me. He says they're hoping they needed as much as 48 NPP MPs to be on their side for this to go through. Well, we'll talk about that. But let's remind ourselves of the 7 reasons that underline this motion in the first place and the reasons why it's been falling flat. We say despicable conflict of interest, unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund. Remember, this one, the conflict of interest matter, was one of 2 that was eventually struck out. And that's why the likes of Kwekure Kit-Hagan believe that if these 2 had stayed, then they would have had a case. But then the committee said it borders on constitutionality, so they struck them out. Illegal payment of oil revenues into the offshore accounts. We saw the Public Interest and Accountability Committee and the GNPC appearing before the committee, justifying, and another also raising questions as to how much that $100 million was paid in there, in the offshore account. Look at this, deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data, fiscal recklessness leading to the crash of the Ghana cedi, alarming incompetence and frightening ineptitude resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy, gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy. These were the 7 reasons that underline this censure motion that has failed. But even if this motion had gone through, as we've seen it, it would still not have led to the automatic sacking of the finance minister, assuming they even had all 48 NPP MPs supporting them, and then this was successful. Because this is what the Constitution says. It will still come back to the president to make the final determination. And we know the president stands on Hon Ofori-Atta already. It says where a vote of censure is passed against a minister under this article, that's Article 82(5) of the 1992 Constitution, the president may, unless the minister resigns his office, revoke his appointment as a minister. Well, it has fallen flat. But we wait to see what the minority will do. Because yesterday, the Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, Minority Chief Whip, gave indications of when this fails, what will be the next step of the minority in exerting pressure on government through other means. They're not going to tolerate the finance minister and anything to do with the finance ministry on the floor of parliament and so on and so forth. The budget is also another area. You're going to be looking at the appropriations in the coming days. But while we are at it, a real estate agency, that's Waterstone Realty, they have sued the Lands Commission for the demolition of a two-story multi-purpose building previously located at the current location of the National Cathedral project. Now, this company says the Lands Commission in 2018 compulsorily possessed and demolished its apartments for the construction of the National Cathedral project. And this is apart from the houses of some 21 judges that were demolished for the National Cathedral to be built. And then this comes up with this two-story multi-purpose building. This is their writ of summons. That's it. We have a copy of it. All right? This is it. Waterstone Realty and the Lands Commission. This is what they're bringing up against. This is the Waterstone Realty Limited asking the courts to, as a matter of fact, do this. An order directed at the defendants to pay the plaintiff of the sum of $4.7 million. That's $4,721,000, being the market value of the two-story multi-purpose building complex at the time of the compulsory possession and demolition by the Lands Commission for this National Cathedral to be built. That's what's coming up now. Okay, look. Now, see, that's not enough. Here it is. Now, this is what they're asking the court. This is point 30 of the writ of summons. The plaintiff claims at the defendant as follows. They're asking for this. I've underlined that the $4,721,000. That's the market value. A further order directed at the defendants to pay the plaintiff a sum of $995,508 US, being the difference in terms of the established market value of the plaintiff's property on the land. So they are seeking additional. Yes. The damages sought include also an amount of, not just this, apart from this $995,000, there's also some $54,000 that they are asking that the court should order the state, the Lands Commission, us, to pay as the loss of rent. That is also there, in somewhere in here. They're asking that an order, this is point C, an order directed at the defendants to pay the plaintiff $54,000, being some of the loss of rent. Interest on the above sum stated also from the first day of June 2018. That's what they're asking for. This comes at a time when we know that over 334 million cedis have so far been spent on the National Cathedral for a number of things. Consultation constituting a little over 130 million of that over 334 million. That's what we do know now. This is a document that was made available by the Finance Ministry to that 8-member committee. Appendix, total payments on the National Cathedral of Ghana, an amount paid to the architect in relation to the National Cathedral. And it reads, with respect to the total amount expended on the National Cathedral, the Cathedral Secretariat can provide the details of payments made. Total releases by the ministry, however, as of 31st March 2022, was 339 million. With regards to the amount paid to the consulting firm, Sir David Ajayi and Associates, in relation to the Cathedral project, releases made by the ministry is in total of 113,040,564 Ghana cedis. That's for consultancy services and other related issues. This is a page in the document. At this time, workers at TUC take a look at some of this expenditure and if it's worth continuing, else you won't get the support for any debt exchange program. That's what they're asking for. All of that we're going to be talking about right after this quick break. This is Ghana Tonight. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, a stalwart of the NPP, has also been speaking about the National Cathedral, Ofori-Atta, and other related matters. We'll be back shortly.
Zoom right here in my house. Hey!
Look up there. Why are you using inferior pen?
It was a mistake. I no check.
Acrobat, I'm going to knock you out.
I know, sir.
You deserve quality.
Don't make mistakes. Stop.
You did the right thing.
When you are going to buy a paint, don't look left, don't look right. Go straight and grab the luxury acrylic paint. No be any paint, be paint.
The luxury acrylic paint.
Paint me champion.
Bet on your luck with 1xBet. Test your luck and get a chance to win one of the super prizes. Bet on the sports events with 1xBet. Get the tickets and take part in the super cool prizes draw. Technospark smartphone, powerful generator, or a cool Bajaj motorcycle. Bet on your luck with 1xBet.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gambling can be addictive.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful Endpoint one?
Chesena me ankasa me period na say problems wom ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na me coin point no mo hwe me modam no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro me fire no ene ma won kra me enu kofro kwa na mkwan mu a eba
and everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko Endpoint o mama no nura ene ne ho eden a watimi asori anante.
That's Endpoint for you. Of Acrobato. Hello. Hey, ohwehwe what che. Okay. A free bra wo di Endpoint wa dance. Ana me call you no. Me Johnson say my name Koye and person of my nyina and imagine Sabema. Now, many people for there. The one in you heard everything. I have secret. Endpoint is my secret. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. I'm free.
When I say big, you say whiz.
Franco say I'll bet off phone behind the end. Franco say for school. It was answer Franco back there coming. Yana the amount. Can you be chair Franco Mammy? Can you be chair Franco Mammy? Fine at the best in town. The best. Franco training Mama
We are on a mission promoting access to quality health and education through the power of our media space. Since 2014, we have made great impact. TV3 mission now drives Ghana's quest to break barriers and provide access to inclusive and quality girls' education, together with women's maternal health services. Our mission to address the needs of the socially excluded has won the admiration of many. Indeed, TV3 Mission gets you the results. Mission is live on TV3 News 360 every Saturday and Sunday. Supported by Star Ghana Foundation, with thanks to Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We are live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. And let's welcome a number of people who are joining us on this conversation tonight. And we have Dr. Rashid Draman, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. And then also, with what played out in Parliament early on, also we have the Minority Leader, Hon Haruna Iddrisu, also joining us on the telephone as well. Dr. ASA Asante, Political Science Lecturer at the University of Ghana, Legon, will be joining us as well. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on Ghana Tonight. I'll start off with you, Hon Haruna Iddrisu, Minority Leader. You are one of two proponents of this particular motion. What happened today? The majority walked out. This, some say, was expected. Why did you think that the majority was going to support you in this motion that you had put forward?
Thank you very much. The majority, by their own actions and conduct and public statement, gave indication that they themselves are dissatisfied with the performance of the Honorable Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta. So it was for us to build consensus in the interest of our country in saving the economy, to bid him farewell and to bid him goodbye. The state of Ghana's economy, to say that it's in crisis, is an understatement. One would have thought that Ken Ofori-Atta would have resigned long ago for leading the country into this economic mess or economic catastrophe. Where on earth have you heard that because of COVID and Ukraine, any country in Sub-Saharan Africa is undertaking a debt structuring initiative called a debt exchange program? The banks and financial institutions that have invested in government bonds and instruments feel threatened and may not have liquidity. There is unacceptable hardships in Ghana. Real incomes have deteriorated. The government have borrowed between 120 to 440 billion, unprecedented in the country's history. Inflation is all-time high. Depreciation of the cedi 54%. Somebody must be held responsible for that. And it's the view of the minority that the Honorable Minister for Finance be held solely responsible for the economic mess. We are disappointed by it because we expected that the majority will do this harm to oversight. But we are particularly happy about one development, that at least the Parliament of Ghana have proven that there is a power of censorship vested in Parliament, and that can be a check on incompetence by ministers of state and ministers who betray the public trust. But what has happened today strengthens parliamentary oversight. It's unfortunate that we don't have the numbers, but I kept saying that the threshold is onerous. You need to test majority. The Ghanaian people did not give the NDC minority that number.
But you knew this.
They gave us 137.
Honorable Minority Leader, you knew this. I mean, so here's the thing, the positive aspect that you highlight, which is good, but then again, this goes right down to a numbers situation, isn't it? I mean, right from the get-go, you knew you had to get about 48 NPP MPs to support this. That's why many hold the view that from the point you began this path of emotion, it was a fruitless exercise. It was going to be just a charade. Much ado about nothing.
It's certainly not. That's why the majority prevented their members from partaking in the secret voting. If they did, would have been there, because there are a number of discontent, and there are a number of them who are real, who want to reflect the suffering of Ghanaian people, reflect what they are concerned about them to do, as they themselves postulated a month ago.
I see. So your point is that if the majority leadership in Parliament had allowed the MPs to take part in the secret ballot,
voluntarily, we would have won the day. They know that.
I see. But is this the end of the road for you? I mean, with this quest of getting the finance minister out?
That brings closure to the censorship motion in respect of the finance minister. We will explore other avenues to hold President Nana Addo Dankwa and the MPP accountable to the Ghanaian people. I mean, take the cathedral, for instance. How can you spend 300 million Ghana cedis and yet work does not show that you spend this colossal amount of money on that?
Well, some of your members, in fact, I've spoken to some others who think that some of the reasons, the 7 reasons underlying this motion, was going to be hard to prove. But the 2 that was taken out eventually, the conflict of interest case, was one that if you had impressed upon the committee not to strike them out, you could have pursued it to the end as well.
I'm surprised. Every point on our grounds, we are proving it. Cathedral, he spent. What do you mean by misappropriation? When you spend more than Parliament granted you approval, that's wrong. To the PFM Act, when you allow GNPC to borrow 164 million without parliamentary approval, that's wrong. Is there no hardship in the country? Didn't his data bank benefit from some of the borrowing of the $11 billion they have borrowed in the last 6 years? I mean, what they cannot do in 6 years, they are now promising Ghanaians that they will be able to do that in 2 years. We leave that to the judgment of the Ghanaian people, but we are a satisfied minority that at least we've done what the Ghanaian people expect us to do within the limitations of our numbers.
I see, but then again, the Honorable K.T. Amon says you didn't make any findings against Ofori-Atta. I mean, the committee itself.
So ask the chairman, K.T. Amon, what findings did his committee make? His committee just said, we heard from Haruna, this is what he said. We heard from Ofori-Atta, this is what he said. No finding of fact, no recommendation. I've never seen that in any parliamentary committee report. Have money been spent on cathedral? Does the money guarantee value for money? Has GNPC borrowed money which ought to be in the Petroleum Holding Fund or not? I just think that we must get serious as a country.
But in the end, even if this motion had gone through, assuming, it will still have the president make the final call, isn't it? I mean, as stipulated in the Constitution.
Yeah, if you go strictly to the letter and spirit of Article 82.5, maybe you are right. But there are those who argue that once the threshold is done and Parliament have by 2/3 taken that decision, then maybe it shall be read as a shall. That's others' opinion. But these are matters that are contestable in the Supreme Court. And someone may want to invoke their interpretive jurisdiction to deal with it.
I see. Hold on a bit for me, the Honorable Minority Leader Hon Haruna Iddrisu. Dr. Rashid Draman is Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Also, I have Dr. ASA Asante. He is a Senior Political Science Lecturer at the University of Ghana Political Science Department. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you for connecting with us as well. That's the Honorable Minority Leader, one of 2 proponents of this censor motion that failed to achieve the objective. Dr. Rashid Draman, you have long held that this was a fruitless exercise. Why?
Well, I mean, I told you this morning that the minority was not going to achieve what they were seeking to do, because if we were going to predict based on the behavior of the rebel MPs, then it was likely that they were not going to get support. In fact, what I didn't know was even the fact that they were going to walk out, because you remember this morning I was telling you that even the secret balloting was going to be a little bit of a challenge, because then when the numbers are counted, fingers will start being pointed at the 80 MPs because they have made their position known already. I mean, I'm talking about from within their party. But I said, fruitless as it may be, the NDC will be on the side of history. At least when it mattered most, they stood on the side of Ghanaians and they were counted. So today, 136 of them were in the House. I mean, history will show that when we were at this point in our country's journey, at least the 136 members who were present in the House sided with the people of this country, because I think it's only a few people in this country who do not see the suffering that is going on. And very few people in this country do not see all the challenges. And in some places, with all this pressure that has been on this minister, I believe, I mean, he would have honorably resigned. So at least we saw history happening, and I've been one of the proponents of, you know, us looking at this our constitution and trying to see whether we would not try to maybe look at this 2/3 threshold. I mean, I know some may say if you reduce it to a simple majority on matters like this, it may be abused. But the level of partisanship that we see in our country, I mean, I don't know any day when any one party is going to have this kind of 2/3 majority to be able to execute something like this.
I see. But Dr. Asante, I'm bringing you at the point. Was it a realistic expectation for the minority to have that some 48 NPP MPs were going to support them on this path?
Oh, actually, the NDC minority knew that they were not going to get the support of the majority people, even though the group of 90 might have said that they wanted the minister out. But remember, they did say that they did not want to accept the route that has been taken by the NPP and all that. If you look at the matter critically, you realize that even from the word go, it was not going to materialize, in the sense that when you look at that group, they keep on changing their position left and right and all that. But what the minority wanted to do, to send a clear signal to government that they were not going to, you know, accept anything short of that, that if the minister is a non-performing minister, he must go. And they demonstrated that without, you know, beyond reasonable doubts. It also tells you that the minority will not take chances, that if you bring anything from government cycles to parliament and they think that it will not be of interest to Ghanaian people, they will reject it vehemently. Let us remember that this is not the end of the road, because you need minority all the time to build consensus, to pass bills into law. And I believe that if this thing doesn't work, that is, they may look at other options where sometimes they can pull strings and it will be difficult for government to follow. So this is the early warning signal to government. If government doesn't budge, I believe that they will go ahead and pull other, you know, strings. And then sometimes if you don't take a government, it will be very uncomfortable for government to do business with them. So I think that given what my colleagues, Dr. Draman has said and all that, it is important now, incumbent upon the president to listen to minority, listen to even the larger population of Ghanaians who are saying that, look, the minister has presided over the administration of the economy, that we are where we are because of the things that he has done, for which reason he must relieve of his duty. Because now it is clear beyond reasonable doubt from public opinion that people are not happy with the minister continuous stay in office. So if you have that information, not only from minority and from public opinion, obviously as a leader, you don't want to sweep it under the carpet. So I believe that going forward, the MPP would do the needful and get the minister out. Otherwise, we don't know what will happen. happen in Parliament.
I see. Well, let's see if we'll have an idea of what's going to happen in Parliament, because the minority leader, Hon Haruna Iddrisu, is still with us on the telephone. Honorable, so yes, it's falling flat in the face, this motion. But what other strategies, if there is, that the minority is considering still pressing forward your demands to have the finance minister sacked?
That's all. If we're any other person, hello.
Yes. Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, yes, yeah, you can listen to me on the phone. Yeah, I realize you're watching the television. I'm asking that Dr. Asante says you are now probably going to be considering other ways of making government business uncomfortable just to press forward your demands of the finance minister being sacked. Is these strategies you're considering employing going forward after this failed censure motion?
Yeah, there are proposals in the budget that the minority feels very strongly about. We are simply against them and will not support their approval on the floor. The 2.5% VAT levy is one. The debt exchange initiative is two. E-levy without a threshold or without an adjustment up to 0.50 may be problematic for us, even though a lowering of the threshold from 1.5 to 1% may satisfy a category of people. Our position on that have not changed. But since the majority could walk out on us, we will see what we do in the coming days so that they appreciate that we are relevant and necessary.
I see. Finally, before I let you go, I mean, what happened today in Parliament, Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, was primarily hinged on the committee's work. Would you say that 8-member committee...
What about the committee's work? The committee didn't make any finding. They didn't make any recommendation. Precisely. It was more like we have listened to Haruna Iddrisu and Atufose. We've listened to Ofori-Atta. We are back to debate, take a decision. Now, the essence of the censorship motion is to allow Parliament to exercise a vote of no confidence in a minister in whose performance Parliament is not satisfied. In fact, in the United Kingdom, the vote of censorship was more or less like an impeachment motion. And therefore, if our colleagues in the majority don't see anything wrong with the state of the Ghanaian economy, they don't see anything wrong with the state of the mess created by Ofori-Atta, so be it. But to them and to the Ghanaian people.
Are you saying that the committee established was probably just a waste of time, or they didn't make any impact in the process? As you saw play out?
At least we have exercised or attempted to exercise oversight. And many of the issues can be probed upon further by those of you in the media. I mean, why not go and visit the cathedral site and see what is there? In any case, it is only in Ghana I'm hearing that a church is going to be owned by the state.
Haruna Iddrisu, thank you for your time.
My pleasure. God bless. And thanks to those resource people. At least I've learned some insights from them, useful insights. God bless. Thanks.
Have a good night. Thank you. Haruna Iddrisu is a minority leader. He was one of two persons, the proponents for this failed censure motion against the finance minister. But Dr. Rashid Draman, before I let you go, maybe finally, so we've seen how things played out today, and the majority's position, at least the 98 who came out, their position is that, well, because this censure motion was still going to have the president take a decision, they would rather take the shorter route of impressing on the president to take the same decision. What do you expect of them after today?
Well, I just hope that everybody who is in that house, the 5 members, whatever they do, they should remember that there is Judgment Day for them. And I think that the Ghanaian people are going to decide because we saw what happened during the last elections. I mean, people were not satisfied with both sides. And particularly the majority side was cut from 60-something majority to struggling to keep up even one number above the minority. I would have thought that that's a very serious lesson that, is very important in their responsibilities to all members of parliament, that, the constituents and the people that elected them are the kings and the ones that they must listen to. So if you have 60 or whatever number that came out and said, this is what our constituents are telling us, then you have a situation where the whip system in parliament failed to get them in line, but you got a bigger whip from the party that got them in line. They should be very mindful of the fact that they might be incurring the wrath of the people that they represent. I want to say finally that, look, we have to be careful. I know it's a house of politics, but if every matter that goes before that house is politicized and is looked at from a purely partisan line, then if we are not careful, one day our democracy will blow up in our faces. We have seen that happen in many countries. So that is what our honorable members must keep in mind. They should remember that, in their responsibilities, they have responsibility to the state, to the party, and to the constitution, but most importantly, to the people that they represent. And that is number one. That must always be on top of their minds.
Okay.
Otherwise, the day that the people would say, we are withdrawing our confidence in the people that we elected, that would be a very bad day for our democracy and a bad day for our country.
Thank you. And Dr. Asante, you still also have that fear, at least based on what happened today, that the representational role of the people may have just been relegated to the background and the partisan considerations always taking a center stage?
It is that problem is always there, but always you realize that somewhere, somewhat, members of parliament are able to find a way out, and this is they are emboldened by the fact that the electorate always support them or vote against them, and that in itself is what protects this democracy. If government doesn't want to budge, if majority doesn't want to support a cause like this, which the public is in support, they wait for their turn. When opportunity comes for whoever's mandate is to be renewed, they throw that away.
Right.
And that is the basis of all political power. That when it's given to you and you don't exercise it well, you don't deliver what is expected of you, people take it from you through what? Votes. And that is what always protects democracy.
Dr. Asante, thank you so much. He is a senior political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, Legon, Political Science Department. Dr. Rashid Draman, thank you so much as well. He is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Let's stay a bit further on this. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, a stalwart of the NPP, also waded into this. It says that, in his view, it's time for Ofori-Atta to go. I sat with him earlier today. I'm going to go for this quick break. When we're back, Dr. Arthur Kennedy will be speaking on this, plus the National Cathedral. Stay with us.
TV3 is 25 years. Join us as we celebrate 25 years of leadership. As part of activities celebrating this milestone, TV3 invites you to win great prizes while showcasing your knowledge of current affairs and general knowledge in the TV3 Anniversary Quiz. Simply download the TV3 Reality app, then register for the TV3 Anniversary Quiz with your name and number. You then purchase quiz bundles through mobile money across all networks. At the end of the week, the contestants with the highest number of points win the weekly prize. You can play as many times as you like, anytime, anywhere. Win exciting prizes like TVs, fridges, blenders, smartphones, and the grand prize, a trip to South Africa. The TV3 25th Anniversary Quiz, turning your knowledge of current affairs into great prizes. Brought to you by TV3. First thing news, best in entertainment.
This promo is being run on the NLA Caritas Lottery platform.
Sponsors Haptel.
Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Let's go on now. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, stalwart of the NPP, talking about Ken Ofori-Atta, the economy, Nassau Cathedral. Take a look. The man I just referred to, Ken Ofori-Atta, has been under fire for quite a while. In fact, from members of the NPP as well, NPP MPs, who came out publicly to ask the president to sack him, and Charles Edubua, who has been sacked because of this announced expose. Now, did that action by the NPP MPs give you any confidence, or the turnaround of events has rather disappointed you?
It gave me hope. It was a bit too late, but it is better late than never. I have always argued for a robust parliament that is focused on accountability and executive oversight. I think that Ken Ofori-Atta means well, he's well-intentioned, he's done his best, but public sentiment matters a lot in politics. When Cameron led the fight against Brexit, and Brexit lost, the next day he announced, he says, I know I have a 5-year mandate as Prime Minister, but I argued that Brexit would not be good for Britain. The British heard me and they chose to go Brexit. So I am not the right Prime Minister to lead the journey to Brexit. So he resigned. I think Ken feels strongly, and he himself articulated it, that as proud Ghanaians will never go to the IMF or the World Bank. If indeed that is what he believes, then why would we rely on him to negotiate our dealings with the World Bank and IMF, who he himself is on record as stating he does not believe in? It's just unprincipled.
It's time for Ken Ofori-Atta to go?
Absolutely. He should have gone long ago, and I feel pained watching all this determination to hang on to a job you are doing for free. I mean, he's a better person than that.
The president says that he doesn't find any reason to sack him, and that with all he's done, it's not going to be fair to sack him.
You mean like running the country into the ground after we have successfully exited the World Bank? It's not fair to sack the person, but it's fair to sack Edubua based on a 4-year-old tape? Really? I mean, the president ought to start listening to reality a little bit. I think that it will be the interest of the country for Ken to go, and not only that, the president has already undermined him, even if the president is insisting that he's done a good job, because the public sentiment is overwhelming. And sometimes these public sentiments may be unfair. I would say, in fairness to Ken, that after all, he wasn't a one-man economic management team. He was a member of a team headed by the vice president. That team and its leader have been hailed publicly by somebody like Osafo Mafu. So yes, you can say that it's a little unfair to single out Ken alone for the failings of a committee. And after all, the committee wasn't freelancing. It was reporting to the president. You know, so if the committee has failed, maybe the government has failed. But having said that, changes are necessary so that the president can demonstrate to the public that he has heard them.
Beyond even the NPP MPs, the NDC also had a vote of censure, raised questions about conflict of interest involving Ken Ofori-Atta, and then 6 other concerns that they raised as well.
I don't understand it because it's past where this is an ambiguous decision. In fairness to those who are talking about the censure really has no legal effect. If you impeach in, yeah, that's different, but the censure has no legal effect. But having said that, a lot of these things they are blaming him for, it's not as if the parliament didn't know about it, you know. I think some of these things, for example, should have been vigorously interrogated when he came for his reconfirmation for a second term. And those things were not done. So I think that the parliament is being a little opportunistic, but I think we're wasting a lot of time on a censure motion that is really of no practical effect. A lot of about 4 U.S. presidents have been censured by the Senate. It didn't lead to anything. So a censure is really, you know.
I see. So this, in your view, the minorities' path is of no consequential effect.
I think they should be debating substantively, you know, for example, why we're still budgeting money for the National Cathedral. Why, for example, now that you're talking about that, we go into the IMF and, for example, the e-levy, the net effect of all the changes they are making the e-levy is to increase the e-levy.
Indeed.
That really is what they are trying to do. And there are very ambitious tax projections about what they are going to do. As I speak to you now, the COVID levy is still there. Now, somebody explained to me, why is it that we have COVID and our businesses are suffering? We go to the World Bank and IMF and say, our economy is suffering, so give us help. They give you help to come and help the struggling businesses. You take the help and you turn around and tax the same businesses you have argued to external funders are suffering.
You've come in at a time when the Ghanaian people are concerned about the increasing hardship in the economy, the crisis that we find ourselves in at the moment. What's your own assessment of the state of affairs in this country?
It is difficult. I've been here, obviously, over the last week. I was over in the village, Nasebu, attending a funeral, and all along I've spoken to a lot of people. Actually, one story that stuck in my mind was someone who said he is even middle class, he's not minimum wage. He says about once every 2 weeks, he and his family go out to eat. And he says the plate he buys for the family of 4 is about 50 Ghana cedis, which is quite expensive. He went 1 week after he bought this and he was told that it was over 200 cedis. And he said his wife said, no, we're not going to eat here, let's go home. So this is one story, but it is indicative of the story of most Ghanaians, that minimum wage of 14 Ghana cedis a day, galloping inflation, the cedi is losing its value. There is a lot of uncertainty and pain, particularly being felt by the poor, and that is disappointing.
And can this be blamed squarely on the Russia-Ukraine war and the COVID impact, as the president, the finance minister, and the government has been saying?
I respectfully disagree. I think, obviously, that the Russia-Ukraine war is a factor. I think the COVID crisis indeed was a factor, but obviously not every currency is performing as badly as our own. Not everybody's credit rating is being downgraded. So there are factors in addition to these things, and I think that the government should look in the mirror. I think that maybe some of the things, well-intentioned as they may be, that they wanted to put in place did not work the way that they thought it would. And I think that it will help their credibility if they level with Ghanaians and take some responsibility for the things that are not going well.
It is not right to blame everything on Russia or Ukraine,
no.
COVID-19.
Absolutely not. You know, and most people are reasonable. They know that everybody in the world is facing the same problems, but not every country is like Sri Lanka, but we are. Whenever
you talk about the president taking a look at some of the well-intended proposals, for instance, free senior high school and the likes, he says that is non-negotiable. In fact, the 2023 budget, we've seen the allocations, the free senior high school increased going into the year. Do you hold a contrary view? Yeah, I do. You see, we should distinguish between
good intentions and good performance or good execution. I think free SHS is a very laudable policy, but I think it has been executed badly. And a few other things too have fared the same way. So planting
for food and jobs.
For food and jobs is a good idea. You know, a lot of things done around the COVID were well-intentioned, but I think that we have fallen short repeatedly on execution. To elaborate, for example, the free SHS, there is no way the government was going to pay for free SHS on the scale that it was introduced.
That's Dr. Arthur Kennedy speaking about the Free Senior High School, Ofori-Atta, National Cathedral, matters arising. The full interview is going to be available on 3news.com, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. So you can visit there and get some more details. But the Trade Union Congress Deputy Secretary General Joshua Ansah has been talking about the continuous position of the Trade Union Congress against this proposed debt exchange program by the Finance Minister. Take a look.
And show madness. There's no way our leaders are going to listen to us. I want to inject the spirit of madness in all of you. I'm telling you because for 6 years now, in your regular National Executive Council meetings, if you take the speeches by your General Secretary, you can see the things he has alerted on. How many of them has materialized? Because they see us to be too gentle. Yes. They see Ghanaian workers to be people who can be cheated.
Actually on the wall part. But thank you so much for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. On behalf of the rest of the team, we appreciate your company. Join us same time tomorrow. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.